Hello and welcome to everyone to FPL Jedi Show stream. My name is Hafiz. I would like to welcome Azmin to the stream. How's your feeling, brother, after end of game week 20?
Mixed bag. Not happy with how my week went. But I guess it's one of those weeks where making the wrong decisions as well. But I'm still I'm not too unhappy, of course, because at the end of the day, so far it's been a good season for me. So I just need to look back at those weeks and actually see what I did wrong and what we need to do, and look forward and keep on looking for those green arrows.
All right, as everyone can see, both of us are on red arrow. Okay, from after that game week 20 results. And this stream will be slightly different, man. As we mentioned, this weekend will be the FA Cup week before we continue with game week 21 somewhere midweek next week. We also already witnessed the results of Carabao Cup semi-final, I think, for the past 2 days. We will touch on that later. And we want to just take a sit back, do some reflection, mate, after game week 20, after all those festive period. Just want to take a look how we did for the past 20 game weeks. Any lesson that we have learned that we can share with our audience. And then at the same time, take a look at the high level of fixture coming up for the rest of the season and talk about cheap strategy, Min. So what do you think, Min?
Yeah, I think it's incredible, but we're already halfway into the season. It just seems not too long ago that we were kicking off with Leicester, with Southampton, and Ipswich as well, as the three new promoted teams. Um, it's been exciting as any other season as well. Lots of ups and downs. Lots managers getting fired, and form book turning upside down, and of course, one of the biggest highlights or downlights, I guess, for me is Haaland's fall from grace at the moment. No, not being nowhere near to the auto pick that he was from previous season. So yeah, but there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to unpack.
Yep. So despite after the game in 20, you did touch a bit on Haaland. He's on scoring streak at least for the past 2 weeks. So maybe he will be back on radar if he's back on form, especially on Man City. But it's too early to say, right, mate? So speaking of a manager casualty, mate, what an opening that we can talk about is the recent casualty or manager being sacked from West Ham United. Julian Lopetegui has been sacked and departs from West Ham. I think the result from the past 2 game weeks, lost to Liverpool 5-0 and then Man City 4-1. I think the management of West Ham decided that it is time to Lopetegui to depart, and maybe it is overdue. He maybe should have gone much earlier than this. But we can safely say Graham Potter has been appointed as a new West Ham United manager, and he has signed for 2.5-year contract. He has already spoke his first press conference just now ahead of FA Cup tie against Villa this weekend. So maybe touch a bit on the fate of Lopetegui and the appointment of Graham Potter. I mean, what do you think?
Well, it was always going to be a problem, and I think that it's just the manner of the loss. You would think that they would expect to have lost to teams like Liverpool, where they lost 5-0, and City, where they lost 4-1. But it's really in the manner of, I think the board decided, because based on capitulation worse. And I think with as despite the effort in City, it was against Liverpool that Liverpool were acting like it was a training session at one point. Everyone was trying, fun passes, and and West Ham just couldn't do a thing. Yeah, so it's sad because it's a first season for Lopetegui, and that's it. So he's not able to improve the squad, and there is quality, although there are some issues in terms of personnel pieces with in the absence of certain characteristics, you would expect to be able to do it, at least make them look secure or better. But to be fair, he did last a bit longer. If you remember the West Ham Wolves managerial showdown, and in O'Neill was the loser of that one. Short-lived, but not a manager that I've been eager to see him return. Graham Potter coming back to the Premier League after his stint at Brighton. So and Chelsea.
Yep.
So it'll be good to see. And because I do rate Graham Potter and quality in terms of quality. It's just that maybe the Chelsea was a step too far in terms of environment and mentality. So let's see how he does with West Ham.
All right, and that's the newest news that we can share in terms of manager appointment. I think it is still wait and see. I think with Bowen injury, and there's some other key players also coming in and out. I think we shall see how West Ham perform before I think we can jump to success. But let us take a quick look, how we perform in game week 20. I think my team first. So game week 20, sorry, this is not game week 21. 55 points I scored. But both of us actually scored below the average point, which was 60 points. Now below point. So can you imagine some of the key players that we missed out? I think the highest scorer was Mbomo, if I'm right, 19 giant points.
Yeah.
The forgotten man, so-called, that people says it is time to move him. But he has been consistent, and a bit spoiler, he is in the team of the season later. Just we shall reveal later. Okay. I think that's one of the player, and then maybe we miss out some of the maybe Newcastle player that have been performing lately. Not Isaac, but the other guy in midfield, Mr. Gordon. Or maybe the recent one, Haaland, I scored the game. I think 2 goals, right? Last week against West Ham, and he got that 13 points, if I'm right. So maybe that caused some red arrow for us, but it is what it is. My rank are down to 3.3 million now from 3. So I've been playing in this millions position and kind of like comfortable in this zone, but I need to actually rise with some better results if I want to move in the upwards stream. But we definitely lock into some of the template players, and we are still trying to find some maybe differential that has some quality, but people kind of jump quickly to those players. And one of them is Cells that I actually jump on instead of Pickford, or even the likes of potential double game week players like Alisson Becker, or even the Mr. Consistent, so-called on paper, Mr. Raya, with expensive 5.6 million. But Cells, it is the current keeper. I think Forrest has kept 4 clean sheet in a row, if I'm right, and he got these 9 points. We are on the sales boat, right, man? So 9 pointer, 2 bonus point, that's you 1 save point. Forest defense continue to be formidable. TA 0 points. We know what the result, Liverpool against Man United 2-2, okay, and 0 point, yellow card for TA. Gabriel Arsenal did not cap a clean sheet against Brighton. Pedro scored a goal. Look at your team later. Robinson, Fulham drew against Ipswich, another disappointing night for Fulham. They managed at least salvage a goal to Drew again. Ipswich, a better result for Ipswich. Martinelli 1 pointer bench. It's just a matter of time, right, for that rotation player from Arsenal because there's fixture coming up. I forgot totally about their involving in the semi-final Carabao Cup matches, and definitely there will be some players who will be rotating and which one Arteta going to prioritize, right? So Salah another 7 pointer captain, but if let's say you captain Palmer, you got that 3 extra points, I believe that 1 goal and 3 bonus points. Enzo continue to disappoint owners like myself, 1 point. Jackson also, I mean that both triple asset. Chelsea not looking good at this juncture. I brought in Wood for Cunha was suspended. Kind of relief that at least a goal and I think 2 bonus points. But if I jump on Raul Jimenez, he scored 2 goals with 2 penalty and 3 bonus points. So maybe in hindsight, Raul could be a better choice this week, but in the long run, we know Crestwood 90 minutes spent on penalty kick. He is definitely one there. And then I said with 7 points. So those are my team, 55 points. Just to, what do you think, Min?
Yeah, I mean, I think jumping on Wood was the right play. Even though Raul did score, but 2, but I think it's good. And of course, you had Cells as well, so it's a nice team to round up the week in with to both Woods and Cells performing to boost your score. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. It still ended up red, but I think you got to be credited there. But I think the serious look needs to be. Yeah, but it depends on where your priority is at because again, your Chelsea supporting act not at the game. Yeah, so it's gonna be the issue that we need to look at in the future. And of course, Isaac continues to perform. But yeah, I think you came out of the week better than me because we'll look at my team because of some of the decisions I made. Yeah, but otherwise, I think it's stable enough. You dropped 300k, but it looks good in terms of your squad.
Right, let's jump to your team, in. So you scored this for Afosz. Just quickly because Afosz couldn't make it to our stream. We actually invited him because we just want to run through his team also. I think yourself and Afosz is actually fighting for those places in the top 100k right now. Both of you have been excellent this season. Definitely, he has Raya 3-pointer. His defense definitely not that much different from us. He did not have TAA at this juncture, but at least TAA scored 0 point last week. So Munoz, he has Munoz. This is one of the defenders that people are looking at. Definitely moving for future. Salah Sa. Okay, he has 2 Crystal Palace, Palmer, and Luis Diaz. He also in the same boat like you, me, 1-pointer. Chris Wood, 8 points. Isaac and Jackson, he also has Jackson. I can feel his disappointment, misery, and so on. So, what do you think me about Afosz team?
Yeah, Luis Diaz substituted just before 60 minutes, so too. But and the irony is that apparently the plan was to substitute Gakpo off. Gakpo off or not Diaz, only for Gakpo to score just before it was taken off. So it is what it is. So because I kind of share him because I have Alt-Nouri as well, interestingly enough, but he of course more smart and benched him. I had no choice not to play. But he had Howard Bells on the bench. Not that we will play him in the most in ordinary times anyway. But 53. Again, no Mbeumo, which was the swing factor, isn't it? I think if you had Mbeumo, if I had Mbeumo, we'd both be on a green. I think so. Yeah, we've missed out on that. Unfortunately, but I mean, I'm looking at the squad and because he has the Palace for the nice run coming up. He already has Munoz and Sar. I think he's good to go. Want to see what he does with Jackson.
Yeah, I think the 2 players Jackson and maybe Diaz to an extent is the something that he wants to think moving forward. But Afosz has been really patient with his transfer. I can just tell you that, right, Min? He has been keeping transfer and just keep faith on his players. So I think that could be the right way how we should play this season. Just give more time, more choice. But FPL managers can only, like, 2 games you're not performing and then you are off the door, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure if there's any of my players who are at that stage, and how Pedro was almost there, but suddenly he's back again. So
yeah. Go to your team, 48 points, like you mentioned, 54 down to 119k. Talk a bit about your team.
Okay, so of course my biggest mistake, and I guess this was a huge punt because I was forced to play Ait Nouri. Because I didn't want to play Ahmad against Manchester United, against Liverpool, with Cunha and Rodgers both suspended. Anyway, so that and my big decision was to not make any transfers. So I preferred to leave Cunha because I figure coming back he'll be stronger. Despite the fixtures, I like him. Yeah. So biggest decision, sells to Sa. I went for Sa as well to double up on that, which proves to be a big mistake, even though because Wolves were playing at home. Yeah, and if you looked at the Wolves Forest match, if Strand Larsen had scored those goals at the first half, it could have been a totally different match. But it also goes to show that I mentioned it already. I don't want to talk about that stuff anymore. It was annoying, but but the thing is, that's the risk with Diaz. I knew that coming in, so he would score 1 week and maybe might have a problem because his X minutes may always be an issue, especially if the team are not performing. Then the slot would look at either the 2 out of 3, which the third is Salah, but those 2 would always be susceptible to rotation and or substituted out to make a difference. Yeah. So Gabriel Alexander Robinson I have in common with you. Guardiola is my difference, and unfortunately, City found a way to concede against West Ham. So everyone else is the same with the exception of Pedro. So I did trying to decide whether to field Pedro or Ahmad. In the end, I chose Pedro and Ait Nouri instead of Pedro and Ahmad, which would make much nicer. Pedro scoring a penalty.
We did mention about João Pedro in the game week deadline stream. I mean, you just never know. Pedro could score his own penalty kick 90 minutes, man, right? So
yes.
Now he got that one goal and 3 bonus points.
Yeah, so without and also putting another nail in Arsenal, who are really having problems, without Saka and a proper goal scorer, which is being heatedly talked about in this current transfer window. So yeah, another 18 points on my bench, net of 16 points, I guess, if I fielded them, which I think would definitely have had the green arrow. But of course, again, no Mbeumo, and I guess Gordon as well. I think a lot of people had Mbeumo and Gordon. They would have pushed them up as well, because right now, in terms of the assets, if you notice, the ones we all 3 of us have is Isaac, Salah, Palmer, TAA, and Gabriel, and now Robinson as well, I think. Yeah, so quite a few of our common assets. So yeah, if you remember, if those of you who watched the deadline stream, I did mention that I'll be happy with a small red arrow because I knew I was going into this week as a disadvantage and trying to save the transfers as well. But looking at that, I'm not too happy. I enjoyed my 100k experience for a few days for 1 week while it lasted. But here's hoping that comeback game week 21, hopefully I can break back in again.
All right. At least that one transfers role could make a difference in game week 21, which could be important moving forward for you. Before we reflect our season so far, why not we just take a look team of the season, half season after game week 20. I don't know whether this is a surprise or not. As we know, Forest in the top 4, or can I say top 3 or 2 now, right? In terms of league table. So definitely the Forest assets should be in our attention. And it reflects in the team of the season. Man, just we talk about on the defense side, we have Cells, Aina, and Melankovic represent the 3 best defense so far after game week 20. Cells on 94 points, Aina 95, and Melankovic 83. Same for Gabriel at 83 points. No Liverpool defense, no Raya, no Saliba. If talking about Arsenal, the best teams in terms of defense, but it is Forest. And if you're not buying into those Forest assets, especially one asset, if not two, then you could miss out, right? So, maybe we should pay more attention in terms of Forest defense.
Yeah, I mean, you got 3 Forest defense and 1 Forest attacker up front there. It's insane. This Forest, all led by Wood. Can't tell the forest from the trees. Yeah, so definitely in terms of knowing how to organize the team, and we've seen it where he seems to be able to switch formation flawlessly. If the other day Murillo was injured, and they switched formation and substituted in, and it was fine. It was it didn't have any negative impact. So they really well drilled. They know what they need to do. They don't take unnecessary risks. I've seen them, and they don't always. Let's say, for example, they immediately manage to get the ball. They don't. Or it's not always that they decide to counter attack immediately. They pace themselves. So because they pace themselves, they're able to control the game better and control themselves better and not get it too out of hand. Because at the end of the day, they don't have as much pace as other teams, but they manage it well. They have Elanga and Cho, Callum Hudson-Odoi as the de facto wingers, but they're not that fast. But they go fast when they need to and slow down when they need to. So it's really a good credit, and I'm a bit worried because Liverpool face Forest next in game week 21, and Forest are the only team in this season that have defeated Liverpool, and they defeated us at Anfield. So now we're playing at Forest, so it's going to be a tough one. But yeah, I think Forest assets you definitely need to get on board with at least one of, if not two.
All right. I think Forest speaks for themselves in terms of defense. They kept the highest clean sheets so far, 9, then Liverpool 7, then Arsenal 6. So if the data is there, mentioning about those are the best defense. So nothing but to say. I think that is what the team in terms of defense. Let's talk about the front lineup. Mo Salah is the player of the season so far. He is on an exceptional form this season, already over that 200 points mark, 209. I think the closest, Palmer at 153, like 40 points away from Mo Salah, is definitely a beast this season. And Bomo, I already touched about him in terms of Mr. Consistent. He is in the best midfield, 136 points overall, and then Saka at 107 in midfield. Before up front, the likes of Haaland still there. He's the most top scorer in terms of forward. I set 119 after really good run into 7 or 8 games scoring right now. And then Chris Wood 114. So looks like in terms of Liverpool assets, only Mo Salah here. Chelsea only Palmer. Man City only Haaland. Newcastle only Isaac. And Forest are dominating, like you mentioned, 4 players here.
Yeah, so it's not surprising that these are all the popular FPL picks, from Mbeumo, Saka, Salah, Palmer, and we've seen how disappointing the supporting cast can be compared to the main front runners. The Haaland and Isaac thing is interesting because Haaland started off with a bang and then he went downwards, whereas Isaac started really badly. He was just really, really slow. and then now he's picking up like a supersonic train right now. So there might be issues now because he might have been injured a bit on the Carabao Cup, but we'll talk about that later. But the point is, for the Steam season, it's like Mbeumo, we weren't too convinced of his status in terms of fighting bigger opposition, but it looks like it's not a problem for him. He seems to still consistently enough to get points. If you're keeping Salah through thick and through thin, and the case can be made to have Mbeumo now, because arguably one of the problems with Mbeumo at the start, in most of this first half of the season, was the fact that they seem to be great scoring away at home, but bad playing away. But now that they've started, now as towards the end of the first half of the season, you've seen that we started to realize that the away teams that Mbeumo was facing earlier on were the harder teams. Teams like Villa, teams like Pool, and now they away against some of the smaller teams, and looks like they can win. Maybe they can't keep clean sheets to save their lives, but heck, they can score goals.
Yeah, I think if you see here, I think some of managers talking about who the best asset after Salah or Palmer or even Saka on injury right now is actually Mbeumo, because he keeps scoring goals, 90 minutes man, penalty taker, and we trying to go a different pattern, right? Like just myself, Martinelli, some people go, okay, Gordon, fine, maybe his form right now, but if you kept Mbeumo from game week 1 until now, you got those 136 points all together and survive that festive period, right? I mean, so kudos to anyone who still have Mbeumo in his team. I think if you still have Mbeumo in your team, I think you're going to keep him until, I don't know, even the harder fixture also, he can score. He scored against Arsenal. I think he scored against Chelsea. So he's capable to do that.
Yeah, I think what makes him such a great pick compared to everyone at the front line, except for maybe Wood, is that he's much cheaper. Mbeumo 7+. You got Salah, Palmer, Saka all at the double digits. Haaland at the double digits. Isaac is more expensive than Mbeumo as well. So yeah, that price makes it just so irresistible. And of course I regret not keeping him, but yeah, this is what it is. Those who have him, hopefully, it's proven for the rest of your team as well.
Yeah. Seeing this team in terms of forward lineup, talking about the best front lineup right now, I think people talk about who's the best three. I think number one should be Isaac. Despite Haaland is the highest scorer, but Man City form are not so great right now, but maybe in future he could be an option. But for now, I think Isaac should be the number one, and maybe Wood is number two, right? At 6.8 or million right now. I think those two should be the top two that you should have. But the third one, maybe we go cheap, like João Pedro or Jimenez could be the option. What do you think?
Yeah, Isaac's ownership overall has gone up to 54% apparently. And the thing with Isaac is that he's not getting any cheaper. He's so let me check. What is 9.3 million at the moment? Yeah, which is insane. He's about to, if he keeps going on like that, he could hit double digits by February in terms of his price. So yeah, it's not getting any cheaper. Those who have him at a cheaper price, of course, you want to keep it, because to buy him back is going to be a problem. So the question is whether Newcastle can continue to go up at him and continue to do well, and because looks like they have this, they found it. How he's found the right combination, especially in that midfield tree of Joelinton, Tonali, and Guimaraes, who do well. Of course, Murphy is doing well at the moment. So, but if Murphy doesn't, Barnes could come in, or Almiron, but they are still looking. I don't know what they're going to do in the transfer window. But credit to Newcastle that they've bounced back into serious contention.
Great stuff. I think that's all we want to talk about the season. Some players that we should take note. I think in our thinking, let's say you think who's the best player, I think you still can have those Forest defense. Aina, I'm not sure how much, maybe 5+, but still is more decent. Then maybe the 6+ player like Saliba, Guardiola, who cost it, even TA at a point, because talking about price point, I guess those Aina and Milenkovic or Murillo, I think you can consider. I think those the 3 back from Forest. Min, let's go to your progression half season. Can you just talk to about it?
Okay, so this episode was supposed to be about reflection with a half season, and those of you who have been with us since the start, I mentioned at the start that I wanted to take a step back and look a bit more serious in terms of how I select the team, because I'm one of those who doesn't really get off to a great start. I'm taking too many punts or too many gray areas, rather than going for the sure and certain picks to get me off to a good start. So last year, not last year, at the start of last season, a friend of ours, FPL running pharmacist, a Newcastle fan who's on Twitter, he mentioned because he himself is someone who runs marathons, and he read a lot about how people like to equate FPL is not a 100 meters race, it's a marathon. So he wrote this whole tweet about relating FPL to the marathon. So I've posted that link there, so then you can copy and paste to your link and check out the Twitter, because I found it really insightful and gives you a good idea as to what does it really mean when you say it's a marathon. So the one thing with a marathon is that the serious runners, they are always make sure they get off to a good start. They're not necessarily right in the front there, but they're never far behind. They're always in the chasing pack, at the minimum, because they want to be consistent, because they know that if they're too far back at the start, it gets harder because you're running in a pack. Yeah. So this is where I felt that I need to do the same. So what I did was, okay, so the bottom, the phrase that staying with the pack is important. Start strong and steady. Don't make drastic, unreasonable moves. Just make sure you are within inside the leading pack. So my aim at the start was to make sure I did that. Okay, so keep to the safe and sure picks. Maybe 1 or 2 punts. Base it on those who have had good pre-seasons, those whose starting status were confirmed, and those who the talismans to the team, and so basically pretty much eliminate any rotation risk, which I believe I managed to do. And when that first team should be able to get you for a few weeks and enable you to save at least 1 transfer or 2 transfer. And at the same time, with the changing of rules of this season, I felt it was a good time, because this season they changed it to allow you to save up to 5 transfers. So I wanted to see how long I could go without actually making transfers and be confident in the team that I selected first, and only make changes when I really needed to. So which I believe I did. So the point is, and I am now, those of you who know me, I am now at a decent position, because I'm not the guy who, unfortunately, I'm not that person. I think a lot of you are, but I'm not that person who can really start badly and recover fast, be patient enough to recover and do well later. So I need to be able to, it was a bit of awareness, and I realized I need to realize who I am, how I play, and, do I really want to have fun? But to be fun, you need to be successful. I realized that, it's not fun just picking picks and, I didn't perform, that you get moody, and then you don't pay enough attention anymore. So I want to have fun and still do well, because I feel that to do well is having fun. There's a point, obviously you want to have some fun picks, but doing well is fun.
Yeah,
that's the reality.
I think I just want to touch about staying with the pack, start strong, with inside or the leading pack. Is it something that we should keep at the early of the season, a template team, what people are going with, the highest ownership? Is that something that we should consider with your statement right now?
It's something to consider. You should have a core in your team that is based on template picks. So maybe you're looking at maybe 7 or 8 your decent picks, but normal picks, and maybe 3 out of your starting 11 should, if you want to take a bit more and try your luck. But above all, you need to always be aware of how many of your team are sure starters and how many are good FPL, historically are good FPL picks, and balance it out with, you should have a couple. You can have a couple, because not too much. You should always be aware of your ratio. So I think that 3 is already pushing it. At the most, 2 is of your starting 11 can be punts, but 8 or 9 of your team should be decent FPL players.
Right, fair. Maybe just take a look how you progress along the season from game week 1. Now this is your illustration, how you perform from game week 1. Is it somewhere 1.2 million, and then you slightly drop somewhere in game week 4, and then you just rise again and just move even higher after that? Now game week 20 at 119k, right? I mean, so maybe just talk some of your important week, maybe some decision that you make that propelled you in this position.
Okay, so after game week 3, I had saved a couple of transfers already, and it got to game week 4, and I realized that I had 2 players who were not getting back their starting spot, which was Nkunku and Murphy. So I made changes for that. So unfortunately, in the end, my changes didn't make any difference. I saw Nkunku for Nketiah, who I think 2 weeks later I sold, and Nkunku for is that Minte? Nkunku for Minte. And and I sold. No, I kept Murphy, but I sold. Who's the guy I started in? I can't remember, but I bought Nketiah instead. So this Nketiah was totally useless. So it was a punt, and I made it. It was a punt, and I didn't expect too much, but I thought that he would really make a difference, and he didn't. Yeah. So, but I kept to the core. I really resisted in making transfers. The person I had before Nketiah was Muniz. So after game week 3, I realized that Muniz was going to lose his spot. I felt that he's not doing well. I think that Marco Silva, and I was right there. I was lucky. I was correct, because in game week 4, Raul started instead of Muniz. So Muniz was dropped, and I had already sold Muniz just in time. So I got lucky there. So I got to game week 6 and quite decent, but at game week 6 was when people started wildcarding for the triple Arsenal assets, and I didn't, because I wasn't that. Yeah, I wasn't that convinced, and it paid off. But come game week 7, I think Arsenal were playing Southampton, and I got really jittery. Because I hadn't wildcarded yet, I got really worried because I didn't have Saka. I feel that they're gonna do one over Southampton. So it was, and then, but I couldn't find a way to get him, and I felt that maybe I just needed cover, so I brought in Trossard instead. So on the onside is just the wrong move, because nowhere is Trossard going to have the same level of output as Saka, and that caused me to drop back again. Yeah. So in game week 8, I wildcarded. Yeah. So which was 1 week after an international break, and after that it got well. I was able to consistently perform, and I tried not to make too many drastic changes to my team, saving transfers when I could, and I think I did okay. And going for sure. Sorry, you want to say something?
So I mean, is that where your turning point is? Your wildcard 8 that make a difference in terms of you have a steady team. After that, you know the players that you want, and then you move better after that.
Yeah. Yes. So it was very calculated, and when I put to game week 8, the whole idea was because if I'm going to I don't want to just game week for the sake of game week, wildcard for the sake of wildcard and not do anything about it. So it wasn't in game week 8, it was in game week 9 that I wildcarded. So game week.
Is it after international break? Right.
Yeah, I waited 1 week after international break. So
yes.
I wildcarded in game week 9, and game week 10, game week 11, I did not make a transfer. Game week 12, I didn't do any transfers. So for 3 consecutive weeks after the wildcard, I didn't make any transfers. So it required sheer willpower for me not to make transfers. Historically, I always like to transfers, and I take hits, and this season I have not taken a single hit, which I feel is an incredible achievement. So I'm very happy myself. The only thing is, between game week 12 to 16, I was slowly dropping down again, and I wasn't sure what was going on. And in a fit of rage, because I had brought in Saka in game week 13 after he hauled, and therefore 3 game weeks later he did not haul. He just got 2 point. And at game week 17, I sold him. And just after I sold him, he got injured. So it was quite amazing. And that was a turning point for me. And I jumped up in terms of ranking. And I jumped up, I kept jumping up. And suddenly I found myself in game week 18, I was at 100,000. And in game week 19, I finally managed to hit into the 56k. I bought in Isaac in game week 16. I bought in him too early. Game week 17, I bought in Isaac. So and for his 17 pointer, so which was quite incredible.
You managed to get a hat-trick also. Can I, maybe you can just share who's your MVPs so far after this game today? I know Salah should be one of the mentioning, but who else that play a big role in your season so far?
Okay, one of the bigger ones is definitely Cunha. So Cunha, who came in at the wild card way back in game week 9, Cunha was in my wild card, and part of the FPL Wonder, part of the because reading a lot, and one of the reasons I went in for him is because it seemed like he was involved with everything, even though his team were down at the bottom. If anyone was scoring, it was him, and whenever he scored, he ended up with bonus points as well. So I felt that that's a good investment. So Cunha definitely is one of my MVPs. Sa could have been an MVP, except for the fact I kept Sels should have been an MVP, but for me, I kept benching him because I felt he wasn't. Sa wanted to be better, but that was wrong, of course. Johnson, during the stretch that I had before, he did quite well. Again, I brought him in for my wild card, and he did well for quite a while before I sold him in game week. I can't remember what game week it was. Game week 13. Yeah, because I have between game week 9 and game week 12, 9, 10, 11, 12, I didn't do any transfers until game week 13. So definitely, I also at this wild card, of course, I brought in Palmer as well. But in terms of those who really make a difference, Cunha, and Bowen, when I transferred him in game week 15.
Yeah.
And Bowen, another thing,
and then you enjoy those points.
Yeah,
same
and
like
that just
what I said, right?
Yeah, and you're correct, exactly. So, and I sold them before the Liverpool match, and that's when he probably get injured. So I was quite lucky a few times in the Muniz case, in the Saka case, as well as the Bowen case, selling them just before they lost the space or got injured. So I can't deny that. But yes, moving in early for Isaac, Cunha, Bowen to an extent, and yeah, definitely those people made the results. Now, at the same time, in the second quarter of the season, I do some mistakes that, bringing Eval Nielsen, and then he blanked 3 in a row. And Eval Nielsen was the player I sold for Isaac. Yeah, so that's where it paid off big time. So because the thing is, I needed I needed space, I needed money to buy Isaac. So the only place where I found money was by selling Saka, and I was annoyed at Saka, so that's why I sold him, and it paid off for me. Now, there are some mistakes along the way. Obviously, Nketiah was obvious one. 3 weeks blank. I think I had him for 5 weeks before I sold him. Total blank all the way. Evan Nilsson, 3 weeks blank. Saka, 3 weeks blank. So yeah.
Sometimes we got those players who maybe perform at one stage in season, but we got it at the wrong time. I think even I still remember he performed like 3 assists in a goal. I think one of those games. So Bournemouth is still a decent team this season, but maybe at the wrong time. Like João Pedro, yes, he's performed certain thing, and then we got to the worst stint during the season, and then he come back for the past 2 weeks. Those are the how.
Yeah, the other thing was I saw Haaland in game week 13 when I made 3 transfers that week when I was trying to catch price rise for Pedro and Haaland's eventual drop, which didn't pay off. But in hindsight, it's not so much the Haaland to Pedro that paid off. It's more to the money that was released to improve the squad. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You want to touch me on your bench point?
Okay, so this is my bench. These are all the bench players I've had this week, which actually ended up scoring. So you got, for example, game week 2, Robinson 7 points, and I put in bracket 6 points. That's the difference. If I had put Robinson in instead of another player, the lower scoring player, that's the net points I would have got. So Robinson, of course, is a popular mistake that I keep making in terms of benching him. Sells also, Ait Nouri, to be fair, Ait Nouri is someone that damned if you do, damned if you don't. You put him, he could get sent off, which he was in 1 week. But my point is here that the total points that I've lost is 76 points, which is quite a lot. And when you think about it, if you manage your bench, you do well, because I like having players that play on my bench. I'm not the type who likes to have bench players who aren't starting for the team anyway. So I try to make sure that I always have players who start who are also on the bench to make up for it. So
I think one significant Continue.
Sorry? Yeah, of course, game week 4, Gabriel 15 points. I think a lot of us benched him for that one because at the time we weren't sure.
At least you have him on the bench. I think at that juncture, I actually took him out. I forgot why.
You sold him.
I sold him. I still had got Guardiola in my team, which not perfect me. Just should have kept Gabriel. I forgot. I think, but I also missed that point. I can say that.
Yeah. So this was surprisingly, it was against Spurs.
You're never gonna bench Gabriel anymore because you just never know.
Which is why the next week Arsenal played City and I fielded him and he scored a goal again. So I learned my lesson very quickly not to bench him. Yeah, so I just need to learn the same for people like Robinson, of course. Yeah, but 76 points, that's a lot. I know I've made a lot of mistakes there in terms of that. If I need to sit down a bit longer just to look at my bench and and in terms of decision making, if you have the right people on the bench, it can really help propel your squad up. So in this case, I didn't put players who only, if the difference is only 2 points, it's not here. So the biggest points, 6 points, 4 points, 15 points, 8 points. That's a lot of points there. So, I hope you guys, in terms of that bench, think carefully about who your bench is. Take some punts. I think Pedro against Arsenal, you never know, because at the end of the day, he's still the penalty taker. So, yeah, I think that's the point I wanted to make. So hopefully in the second half of the season, I'll get better with this. So I want to revisit at the end and then see, did I get better? Yeah, so let's see.
All right, good start, man. Quickly on my reflection. My reflection going to be a bad one because I'm in the millions. But I just want to touch how my season panned out. You can see there somewhere in game week 1, somewhere in that rank. I'm actually playing in this million of rank in millions. Never touched lower than 1 million. I think of the reason, man, because I'm
Salah.
giving faith, not having Salah, and giving faith more to Haaland because we know how powerful he can be. He has some good results early of the season. I think a hat
Yep.
trick,
2 hat tricks.
yeah. So we know Haaland capable, and when he hit that point, scoring goals left and right, we call him essential. But I think I miss out when people jump on off Haaland and go for Salah. I think that's why my season gone badly. I think this is where FPL Wonder and also Buddha FPL mentioned here. If I can just share here, Buddha FPL said my rank was ruined by Lord Haaland, and the FPL Wonder did mention that he stick to Haaland most of the season, but he at least now at 5.8k overall rank, is really excellent. Okay, so I think I also in that faith, and some managers, even season managers, could not salvage their season because they still in this kind of rank, millions, 1 million, 2 million, myself at 3 million. And one of the reason, main, is because Salah has been exceptional and stubborn to move to him, because when Salah perform, Haaland not perform, and the swing when you captain Salah got like double digit and Haaland only got 2 points, that's where you can see that despite wildcard game week 6, and I believe I do not have Salah because my fund more to Haaland, and then I distribute and so-called cover by Luis Diaz. Carlos Diaz at that juncture also been performing, but then Luis Diaz cannot cover Salah, right? And that's what happened my season. Then I think I jumped on to Salah really late. Is it somewhere game week 13, man? When I decided to go for Foden when Saka injured, and then Man City had that at home against Southampton. I was thinking, maybe this is the time I captain Haaland, and then I bring in Foden some more, and Foden really double the jeopardy or double whammy for me.
Yeah.
And then I swing to Salah only in game week 30. So Salah easily destroyed my season. And I know maybe he's the one to have instead of Haaland, despite maybe Haaland can bounce back, but that's where my season has been. And I don't know, maybe in a different season it will be slightly different because Salah this season is definitely a different monster.
Salah this season insane. At 200 plus points, he could end up, if you extrapolate, he could end up with 400 points at the end of the season, which it's impossible. But then we didn't think at 200 points at this point was possible either. But coming back to your ranking, yeah, I think the compounding of having both Haaland and Foden, despite City looking, because we always thought that City was going to bounce back, and the only reason that I didn't go in, one of the reasons I didn't go in was because I didn't have the money, and I did go for Gvardiol in my wild card, so I felt that was okay. Let me just maintain one. I had one City player there. Okay, let's maintain that and wait until City pick up before I look at improving. At least I don't have to feel. I wish I had City players because I did have one City player. So, which fortunately was okay. Yeah, but I think coming off to the second half of the season, it's definitely can still jump up. Just have to it's a key to making the right moves. Obviously, the chips is going to play a big part as well in the second half. So yeah, if you can find the early moving early could be key, but it's a risk. So yeah.
Okay. FPL Wonder just mentioned he's at 5.8 million. Okay lah. So you're still in boat with me lah, in millions, because we made the same mistake of trusting Haaland until we jump late to Salah. Talking about the rest of the season and cheap strategy, let's just talk about that. I think that could be where we can improve the season, because most of managers still intact with a lot of cheap. If you're playing that triple captain cheap earlier of season, then you might not have that chip, but you still have bench moves, you still have free hit, you still have that second wild card, and the most importantly, the newly AM or assistant manager chip, of which is alien to everyone, and we are not sure how to play it, but that is potentially a chip that can be really monstrous in terms of getting points, more than free hit, more than triple captain, more than bench move. There is potential. All right.
Yeah.
So a bit of outlook of what will happen now, 21 until the 38. This is just some projection outlook I gather from Ben Cranlin, one of the top planner in terms of FPL. I also look at FPL Harry, which I will later share about his first look at chip strategy. All right. So here, what will happen is we know there will be double game week in 24-25 where the Liverpool Everton postponement because of the weather adverse somewhere during that Christmas, if you can recall that most probably will happen somewhere in 24 and 25. So there'll be potential double game week there. Then there definitely will be blank game week in 29 because that will be the Carabao Cup final, of which two teams who play in final will blank. So potentially there'll be two game week, game will call off for that week. And then those match who will not play in game week 29 will play most probably in game week 33. That's where I put table game week 33, a small one, where who did not play in 29 will play in 33. And then there'll be a blank game week 34 because that will be a semi-final for FA Cup competition, of which most this season will be a different scheme because most of the FA Cup will play during some game week which will not interfere on the Premier League game except for this one. And then double game week 37 expected to be a big one because potentially up to 8 teams will have double that game week, as we all know potentially like from previous season also, those are the potentially the big game week have, and potentially bench boosting in that game week before the final game week 38. So this the outlook mean. So maybe touch a bit on this outlook mean. What in your thinking?
Yeah, so I mean, Liverpool Everton, of course, it was the snow issues and people not being able to make, so caused the match to be postponed. So firstly, what I want to say is that because at the start of the season we talked about how that's not gonna, we're not gonna get these unusual delays, it's the post-COVID era, but then it happened, and it almost happened again last week. So the point I wanted to make is that it can still happen. Anything can happen. So don't assume that, because the mention is because the issue was because they said that with FA Cup no longer having the replay matches, it meant that, there's going to be less double game weeks towards the end. So, but no, we still have them. And when you look at it, the EFL Cup final in 29. So the teams that are in it is Spurs, Newcastle, Liverpool, and Arsenal. And let's face it, the matches were played this week, the first leg, and they did not go the way most of us expected it to go. So all that planning, we were assuming that in double game week 33 will end up being, certain teams. That might not be the case. So as much as you can plan ahead, you have to be careful and beware that anything can happen in football. Yeah. So now it's a case of depending on how many chips you have. I think quite a few of us played the triple captaincy at the start with Haaland 17 points. If you manage to get Salah's 21 points, good stuff. But most of the engaged who still have them will have a lot of challenge. Okay. So the assistant manager chip will activates in game week 24. It's available for use to game week 24. So the thing with the assistant manager chip is that you need to plan the chip around your other chips. Yeah, because while the assistant manager chip is in play, you cannot use all the other chips for 3 weeks. So that's a big factor because all the other chips are just 1 week. 1 week impact, that's it. Of course, wildcard means you hit it and then the following week impact. But what I mean is in terms of you can stop, you don't have to worry about it. Whereas for assistant manager, you have it for 3 consecutive weeks. So obviously, when you look at that, you think that the last 3 game weeks of the season, game week 36, 37, 38, maybe you want to use your assistant manager chip there. Remember, you shouldn't use your assistant manager chip on starting from game week 37 because that means you wasted it. You've wasted 1 week. So you need that. So this is where you need to plan. You need to decide what you want. And with triple cap, free hit, wildcard, free hit, very popular when there's double game weeks, for example, or if your squad really don't have the players. A lot of advice is in terms of you wildcard the week before you either bench boost, but now you could potentially wildcard before you play your assistant manager chip. Yeah, because one thing assistant manager chip has additional requirements that the other chips don't have,
Right.
which is the manager will count as part of your player quota. So this is quite important. For example, for me, I have 3 Wolves players.
It requires a transfer and quota, right?
Yeah, transfer price quota. The first assistant manager will not need a transfer, but if you decide that you've made a mistake or strategically decide to change your managers in the next 2 weeks, then it'll cost you a transfer as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of factors that you need to put in place, and there's not a lot of space left, to be fair. Game week 24 to 38, that's 15 weeks. And out of those 15 weeks, 3 weeks are for the assistant manager. So that leaves you 12 weeks of space to play your bench boost, triple cap, free hit, and wildcard. Yeah. So you have to look. And the other point I want to make, assistant manager, your risk will change from week to week because there's the underdog chip, the table bonus chip, which may be valid this week but may not be valid the following week simply because of the change in rankings.
So I think we won't go into depth on those things, but I just want to share this is the outlook, and you need to plan because 21, and if you decided, say you want to play on the 24, the assistant manager chip, you might want to just start to accumulate your transfer right now, 21, 22, 23, and prepare for the 24. That is where we, like you mentioned, planning must start now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I feel that one popular strategy is to look at trying, if you can save it because you may need it in preparation for these chips.
Yeah. So I just want to share the first so-called out in terms of strategy from FPL Harry, one of the best manager around in terms of FPL anyway. So I just snapped from his YouTube channel showing that potential chip strategy. So there is 3 strategy there. 1, 2, and 3. I just go one by one. The first one, I think it is revolving in terms where you're going to play the AM chip. Okay, so in this strategy 1, he's going to play in the game week 31, of which he wants to take the advantage of double game week in 33. Okay, so that is where. So if let's say you decided AM, there is 2 portion that you can play this AM chip during those week. You are going to triple captain in 24 or 25, most likely because that Liverpool, Everton, and most likely you're going for Salah. That could be one option. Then you free hit in game week 39, blank game week, and then you play AM in 31, and then you could free hit in 34. Here one of the strategy. I think free hit and wildcard will be slightly different. By AM you play chip in 31. For strategy 2, you play early the AM, somewhere in game week 24, and then you decide what you're going to do in 29, whether free hit or you free hit later in 34, and then you just change. But more or less your BB will stick at 36 like strategy 1. But there is also potentially you could play AM late in the season in 36 to 38. So you need to play your bench boost earlier, somewhere in one of the small double game week like 33. And then most likely free hit in 29, like in strategy 3B, but you still keep that triple captain in 24. I think those are really a lot of way that you can play these chips, but you need to see your team definitely. And before Azmin give his thought, my first thought is to play AM. I think what I'm thinking right now, to play AM as soon as possible, because there's potentially I'm going to play this AM and most probably to the Liverpool team, because Liverpool are one of the strongest team, and any fixture will be nice, and that 2024 could be take advantage for that one extra game week. But you could play later, but we just don't know what. With the current form, I think Liverpool is the best team. I'm not sure about Arsenal. Also, without that Saka, Chelsea, I don't think we can trust those players. I'm not sure you're going to go for with that Forest team anyway, despite their great form right now. So, what do you think, mate?
Yeah. So, strategy 2A or 2B is the one that most of us would be familiar with, because it means that you get rid of this new chip out first, settle that first, because it could get really complicated come once when you hit the run in terms of that AM chip, because you a lot of fight there, whereas you know once you hit 24, you're looking at, okay, I'm just gonna go for it, and just settle it now. I can see a lot of managers who, because it's a new chip, so we want to see what happens and not want to wait too late, because when you wait too late and then they're going to start, I don't know what to do. I hate it, at least. So if you get rid of it now, 24 to 26, then the damage is done. Don't have to worry about it anymore. And you can concentrate on your remaining chips, which you are more used to. So I do feel that could play a part in terms of the strategy. It really is dependent on which team. I mean, you can target those, for example, strategy 1A and 1B 31 for your assistant manager, but it does depend on the team that you want to target. Where are they at the time, as well as what strategy that you intend to take, whether it's going for the safe route, how a players like Eddie Howe, maybe Arteta slot would, and I think that they probably be the more expensive managers, but the safe routes of the teams up there. I don't know where Nuno will belong, for example. So we'll find out how much his price will be. Yeah, so if you do that, then you need to see which teams at 31, who are they all gonna are they playing anyone above 5, or are they all the safe route, meaning they are all already up there and unlikely to play. So it does depend on your risk appetite. I like the fact strategy 1A where you wildcard before the assistant manager, because it will help make space for the manager if you need it, make some money space for your, because that seems, that feels like it can. And the other option there, if you the same frame is strategy 3B, where you wildcard in 35 and the AM chip onwards. So I just want to touch on the strategy 3A, 3B. The one rationale for using the assistant manager late in the season, because you probably want to target teams who are chasing for something. So they're going to go all out, whether it's Europe, whether it's the title, or even if it's fighting relegation. Yeah. And the trick with fighting relegation is you may come up with teams who are already on the beach. Yeah, but they're 5 spaces above you, but they're on the beach because they're safe and they can't get up to Europe. So it would be an advantage for those teams. But at the moment, when you look at it, you have to decide, because the assistant manager is also in terms of goal scored, and the win chip and the underdog chip, which is such a points. Yeah, it's a lot to think. So depends on your risk appetite. Yeah.
This is a new chip. Anything is possible wherever your appetite can be, and then it's definitely a tryout. I don't think there is a right answer. You play early, you play somewhere there. But everything has their own merits. Wildcard and then AM, yeah, could be the the best tactics, but playing early and you know which thing that you can depend on also can be crucial.
Yep.
Like Budak FPL mentioned here, you play late, then suddenly Salah injured, and you're not sure whether Liverpool can perform when Salah not around. That could be a situation because
Yep.
this is not all about AM, right? Me, other chip, it's all reward. You need to know if you play AM here, where your triple captain chip the best where
Yep.
you can play your wildcard, your free hit. So yeah, the FPL Harry put here is really nice. Then you can just have option. There's no right or answer. Depending on your team, right? If you have a lot of Liverpool players, say, and then Liverpool say, do not qualify for EFL final, then game week 29 easily. If you have like 2 or 3 Liverpool, I think you can just play because you don't need to free hit or do anything. So
Exactly.
it's team depending.
I have to admit, I kind of envy those who triple captain Haaland for the 17-pointer at the start of the season, simply because it means they now have one less chip to worry about. Because when you look at that, it's quite congested. There's not a lot of space there. And with the AM chip, I know it's one chip, but I like to look at it as 3 chips because it's potentially 3 game weeks which could boost where your score could be boosted. I do like to look at it as 3 different chips, but I'll bet played consecutively.
All right, mate. I think we already discussed what we want, the half season, and also a bit of chip strategy. You did mention that maybe you want to go in depth in a different video, then we can do that.
Yep. So I was planning to do a recording on just coming back to the basics about the assistant manager so that we clear and look into the thinking and the rationale why, and then look into the risks, the advantages, disadvantages of strategies. So I may release that during the weekend on Saturday, during the FA Cup matches. Let's see how we go.
All right, so we take break for this weekend, but we definitely fire up again in game week 21 deadline somewhere in Tuesday night, right? So it's fast approaching, and we will discuss more in terms of our team selection by that time. All right.
I'm looking at a couple of the comments. Budak FPL said the price is not out yet. Yeah, I don't know when I hope they don't release the pricing just before game week 24 because give us some time to plan a bit because it does involve budget.
When do you think it will happen, or the logical time that FPL will post this?
I think it can happen before the next game week. Yeah, I feel that 3 weeks or 2 weeks will be more than enough time and fair for us to plan. And in my recording, I'll probably take a punt and see the prices and take a guess at which prices and do some predictions. So let's see. But definitely slot Arteta, Howie, and Pep will be 1.5 lah. They're not gonna be at 0.5. Come on.
All right. Yeah, and that's why you just need to spare your money. I think that interesting. I know maybe to some casual players feel that this really complex. Yes, I think so. Some of the so-called season manager also feel this a bit complex, but it's something interesting that we should venture on, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's nowhere. I mean, obviously, there's more factors you take into place, lah. But at the end of the day, I don't know what casual really means, because does that mean they don't really spend too much time in terms of analyzing who to put the triple captaincy in? Because if you're casual, then you will probably go for the safe play rather than this underdog option. Safe play, just go for Liverpool or Newcastle or So I think that will be the route of most casuals. So yeah.
Okay, man. We leave it at that. Thank you everyone for joining the stream. Do hit the like button and subscribe to our FPL Jedi YouTube channel and support us. And we shall see you again in the next stream. So until then, take care and bye-bye.
Bye.